We are now being joined by Mr. Dan McMillan, founded and leads Save Democracy in America, a nonpartisan company to get big money out of politics using the voter dollars reform. He is also the author of How Could This Happen? Explaining the Holocaust. Dr. McMillan, thank you so much for joining us on WION. How will the outcome of this election impact economic policies on issues like inflation, job growth, and small business support? And what should voters expect in terms of real change post-November 5th or in January?
Well, I think if President Trump wins again, there could well be a very dramatic change. In particular, he has said that he wants to move toward a reduction in income tax as a way of raising money for the federal treasury and moving toward imposing tariffs on imported goods. And there have been a number of different versions that he's expressed. He's talked about a 10% blanket tariff on all imported goods. In some cases, he's even spoken of 20%. The impact of that would be quite dramatic. President Trump claims that foreign countries, the countries where these imported goods are produced, would be paying these tariffs, but this is not true. The tariff is actually paid by the American consumer of these goods. And I think most economists will say that such a policy would be very inflationary and also disruptive. It would be, first of all, raise prices to the consumer for finished consumer goods that arrive in this country, and also for American manufacturers that import components or raw materials that are produced abroad. That then increases their costs because tariffs are imposed on those products. Not to mention the fact that other countries upon whose products we impose these tariffs would most likely retaliate by placing tariffs on the imports of American goods. It would have a very disruptive effect on international trade. The exact economic consequences are impossible to predict, but I think most economists would agree that this would be very harmful to the world economy and to the American economy. President Trump is unpredictable. There's no guarantee that this is what he will do, but he has made it a center point of his economic policy. In the case of Vice President Harris, if she is elected, she is pursuing a much more conventional policy. She proposes to make it easier for people to start small businesses by expanding the existing $5,000 tax deduction, that is a reduction of your taxable income for the expenses that you incur in starting a new business, to raise that to $50,000 as an incentive. I can't really evaluate how effective that would be. It's hard to see that it's a game changer. She's also talked about having the government pay $25,000 out of the down payment for someone purchasing a home to make home ownership more accessible. But most economists, as near as I can tell, would say that that is, again, a fairly minor contribution, not really a game changer either. One thing that's
I'm sorry, I just have to cut you in right there, Dr. McMillan. I want to ask another question, and I want to have enough time to do so. How do you think big money influences politics, and what can be done to make elections more fair? I think this is more in line with your organization, Save Democracy.
That's right. Well, thank you for asking. So one of the ways that our country differs from pretty much every other wealthy democracy is that our elections are vastly more expensive because the Supreme Court will not allow us to impose limits on the amount of money spent on elections. Our campaigns, for example, election campaigns, cost roughly 40 times as much as what they cost in Germany or the United Kingdom, to take two reference points. I think the most important impact of this is that effectively candidates have to self-censor to avoid saying anything that might offend any potential donor of campaign cash, so that most policy options or addressing the country's many problems are taken off the table. And consequently, not only are we not addressing, for example, the budget deficit, that we're going to be borrowing $2 trillion a year for the foreseeable future, the indefinite future, just to meet budget costs, which is absolutely unsustainable, or the fact that we pay twice as much per American for healthcare as do other countries do per capita. These problems are barely even mentioned in the political conversation because any effort to fix them might, for example, involve raising taxes on wealthy individuals to pay for election campaigns. Or to reduce the cost of healthcare, we might have to regulate prescription drug prices. And then if you did that, you would not. So the best solution is a public financing mechanism where you make available to candidates an alternative pool of money that they can draw upon. And of those mechanisms, probably the most practical, easily implemented, is
Thank you so much, Dr. McMillan. I'm sorry, I have to go right now. Thank you so much for all of those explanations. And I look forward to speaking to you again very soon. Let's see what happens on Tuesday.